Hello there.
Hello.
Hey, you guys! Thank you so much for your patience. I think we had a little schedule malfunction, and you guys have been kind enough to help us figure it out. So,
Somewhere there we had to figure out how to do this thing called eating.
yeah, that as well. Firstly, it is beyond wonderful to be here with all of you. It's just it's been a remarkable 3 days. We end up going back to Los Angeles utterly exhausted from saying thank you, and it is never taken for granted. Maurice takes it for granted.
I do.
Yeah. It's just, he's the brain, so he's arrogant.
What the hell are you talking about,
Yeah.
Mickey? These people are only here to be my minions, so that I can take over the world, starting with you. Yes! Now, I echo my friend, Mr. Paulsen. This is an embarrassment of riches. That we, this little thing that we started doing in 1992, this little tiny episode of this big thing called Animaniacs. That when we recorded the first one, I remember turning and going, God, those guys were fun. Are they going to come back?
Yeah.
We had no idea. They didn't know. I mean, they were just throwing as much against the wall as they could and seeing what stuck. And luckily, this stuck, and we got to create these two characters who, we've become friends through the characters.
Yeah.
It's like Pinky and the Brain are best friends, and now we've become best buddies.
And I'm still the stupid one.
Yeah. No. Hardly. He's the genius. I'm insane in real life.
Again, this is about you guys. So however you...
Are you guys okay that we combine the two panels into one panel?
Thank you.
We figured we could give you more Pinky in the Brain rather than a Rob panel at 2 to 3 and then a Mo panel 3 to 4. We could just give you as much Pinky in the Brain as you wanted.
We're giving you 2 American panels or 1 Canadian.
1 Canadian.
So if whatever is best for you guys, because you have been doing this for all weekend. So we want to make sure and give those folks what they would like.
No worries. In fact, we've been told that we can go over a little bit if you guys are fine.
Sure.
Now we have a microphone set up over here. And
Okay.
Anybody with questions, we'd like you to safely please wander over to the microphone. And if you could speak succinctly.
If you have a weapon, just leave it at your table.
Some of you stay in your seats. I mean,
Yeah.
We do have to be home by Christmas,
there you go.
2019.
Would you pour me a glass of water?
Yes, I'd love to give you some water, Brain.
Thank you, Pinky.
Have you got water on your brain?
Yes.
You will in a moment.
Here we go. Here's some water on the brain.
No!
Yes! Okay.
You're
That's the kind of hijinks I get up to.
You're such a funny goofball.
This is
now.
why I need writers, Pinky.
So would you want to just do?
I think so, yeah.
Great.
Just to let
Let's do
everybody
that.
For their questions. And
Great.
If we have some time, we'll do some more. And
Okay.
you can do the Song of the Nations afterwards.
Oh,
It's
sure.
so good to do it. So.
Yeah, I can do
Thank
that.
you.
Yeah.
You're
Yes,
going to do the nations of the world?
Yeah.
That never happens.
Never.
I hate that song.
No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. I love that song. Yes, sir.
Hello, my name is Francis.
Hi. We had the
Francis.
pleasure of meeting you, I think, a couple days ago, Francis.
Friday.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
Thank you.
I have a question for you, Rob.
Yes.
How long did it take to record the Animaniacs theme song?
The theme song? Well, we did it in one recording session, as I recall. What you folks may or may not know is if you watch Mrs. Doubtfire, that's not how cartoons are produced. Original shows. We can sometimes go back and do anime dubbing and that type of thing, but when we record something like that song, we have generally a piano track in our headphones and the lyrics in front of us. And if you read music, which I do, I have the music in front of me. And then we're
And you've got the music in you.
I do. I ain't got no trouble in my life. No foolish dreams to make. That's how old I am. I'm quoting Kiki D.
There you go.
So we have the people together singing the Animaniacs theme song, and as I recall, it was Jess and myself, probably Tress, and then maybe some studio background singers. So maybe half a dozen people, and we'd record it to. We wouldn't hear anything except through our headphones. If you were watching us, you just hear people going like this, and then they would say, "It's time for Animania," and that's all you would hear is us singing to what we're listening to. Then it is set off to be animated, and it takes probably about a year. But my part of it took a couple hours. Yeah.
Which is the best part because I
And then
got paid.
those brilliant Richard Stone
Yeah,
orchestrations.
Richard Stone orchestrations. Tom Ruger, and I think Sherry Stoner wrote the lyrics.
Yeah.
But Richard Stone was the gentleman behind all of the music on Animaniacs, Pinky the Brain, Freakazoid. Shirley Walker did Batman. Mind you, in those days, in our case, as a result of Steven Spielberg, we were able to have 40-piece orchestras for every half hour, which is...
And we recorded the music in the very same studio that Carl Stalling recorded the 1940s and 50s Warner Brothers cartoons.
All the Looney Tunes stuff.
So, and we
Same
used
piano
the
even.
same piano, exactly. And so when you're in that room, you're literally in a cartoon. It sounds exactly the same. And every room has its own unique resonance. So we got to go to sessions. I went to a couple of scoring sessions like, this sounds exactly like a Warner Brothers cartoon in here, you know, in a way that it, even as brilliant as a show as Bugs Bunny on Broadway or Bugs Bunny at the Bowl is when they tour it, you lose something because you're not in that same resonance.
Right.
It's just
The room is about as big as this, maybe a little bigger, and everything that you see on the screen in a show like Looney Tunes or Animaniacs or something in which live musicians, as opposed to the dead ones, but there's something about live, and they're all world-class players. You guys have a wonderful symphony here in Vancouver. These people, when you make your living as an oboist, you are a badass oboist. And they're all in LA. And so, I mean, we've got many in LA. So everything you see, if there's a tight shot of the brain raising his eyebrow and the violin goes, that's scored. It's on the music.
Yeah.
So if the tempo is like this, it's a bum 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 bum. Bam, 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 bam. And it's all written and in tempo, and nobody hears it until the conductor lowers his baton. That's the first time anybody hears the music. And these players don't get it beforehand. They come and say, so,
This I read.
yeah, the Lexus was not driving so well, and I'm not so sure about the guy that does the voiceovers for Lexus.
Oh, stop.
And then
Neither was Lexus. That's why I lost my gig this year. But anyway,
Mo was the voice of Lexus for 8 years, I think.
7.5.
But then the baton comes down and they go, okay. And then, and it is mind-blowing to watch people at that level do that gig. It's incredible. So thank you for asking, Francis. Take care.
One more thing.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Gee, Brian, what do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Francis. Ditch Pinky and then try to take over the world.
Thanks, pal. Well, that was good.
That's why he gets the big dough.
Hey, man, nice to see you again.
Nice to see you again.
Hi.
Thank you, by the way, for your kind words.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for what you do. Thank you.
I just want to have a question, I guess. With so many TV shows coming back for reprisals, if there was one role that you guys could reprise, what would that be?
No.
Ba-dum bum, ba-dum 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 bum 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 bum.
I think Stinky and the Stain.
Yeah. Yeah, I would love to see the show or come back in the form of a weekly series or downloadable content or a feature film wouldn't be out of the question. Although I think if it a feature film, they would probably cast celebrities and be
Check this out.
Peter Dinklage is the brain and Russell Brand is Pinky.
Russell Brand.
Motion capture
Oh, look,
suits.
I'm a heroin addict.
Former, sorry. Oh, for God's sakes, it's cartoons. Sorry, I'm channeling Joan Rivers at the moment, so I'm just being...
There are rumors swirling about on the internet about a reboot and all that. There's nothing official that's happened, but there's also been no official denials.
Would you guys like to see a reboot of Animaniacs? And people?
Would you like to see it with other actors than us? Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice.
We'll send that to the president of Warner Brothers Animation right away. You guys may have seen in May, at the end of May this year, there was a thing that was all over the internet that was, I believe, pretty clearly leaked maybe by Amblin or something about Steven Spielberg is contemplating an Animaniacs reboot. And like Mo said, there has been no official word, and we certainly don't get that information because we're just actors. But as Mo also alluded to, there's been no strong pushback, and I do know, that if nothing gets out there with Mr. Spielberg's name on it, and if it is not correct, immediately it will be addressed. So I would think that there's a good chance they're at least thinking about it, and
Fortunately, we can still do the gig.
Yes.
thanks for asking, man. Take care. Hey, buddy.
Hey, happy to have you here.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
First off, Rob, are you pondering what I am pondering?
I think so. What was your first name again?
Brad.
I think so, Brad, but, let's see. I think so, Brad, but if we didn't have ears, we'd look like weasels.
Seriously, thank you so much for the childhood memories.
Thank you,
And
Brad.
if I could address the brain, I would say that he's 1,000 times better than the leaders we currently have. Don't you think that's true, Brad?
How do you know the leaders we currently have aren't part of my plan?
Yeah.
Ready for Christmas 2018!
Yes.
Find you more representative. I find the current leaders we have now are misrepresenting of your aspirations in world domination. Yes.
Nice.
Thank you.
Narf.
Thank you, Brad. Narf to you, too. Thank you. Hi.
Hello. I have a question for both of you.
Okay.
One each. For Rob, who think out Groucho Marx next to each other? Yakko or Bugs Bunny?
Oh, who could, well, let's see. Mel's dead. So, I win by default. And maybe now my career's dead.
Groucho, by the way.
Yeah. So Groucho's dead too. That's a great question. That's one of those, if between Batman and Superman, who'd win a fight? Look, I was inspired, as were Mo and our other really gifted actors who are fortunate enough to do what we do. I was inspired by Mr. Blank. And when you mentioned Bugs Bunny, I'm glad you did, because Phil LaMarche, who is just a wonderful actor and is a good friend of both of ours, but when I was interviewing Phil on my podcast a couple years ago, it was just an audio podcast, we talk often about our favorite actors and our favorite inspirational folks. And he said pretty clearly, one of my favorite actors is Bugs Bunny. I mean, obviously he knew what he was saying, but because his point was it was so beautifully executed from Chuck Jones and the music with Carl Stalling and Mel Blanc's voice. And when that happens, it is utterly organic and beautiful, and it's as entertaining and relevant now as it was when they were made in the 40s. So the short answer to your question is, I have no idea. But I love
Trying to find out. Yeah, so thank you for asking. Now you can ask Mr. LaMarche how much money he makes.
Now, I have a question for Calculon.
Any Futurama fans out there?
Well, I'm sorry, this is a Pinky in the Brain panel.
Yeah.
Now, Calculon, being here at this convention, how does it feel to be surrounded by these actors?
Well, let me tell you that none of them are possessed by unholy acting talent, as I am. That was some free acting for you. Normally you have to sit through a tampon commercial for acting of that caliber. Do you have an extra go-to 10 line? Or do you have another line? There, I just Groucho. Even more free acting. And writing. Thank you.
This is how work is.
Yeah. It ain't fair, because we spend a good deal of our time laughing.
Oh.
It's like being around the water cooler, but we're getting paid.
Oh, man.
It's so awesome. And I get to hang out
Hello,
with this
nurse.
guy.
Thank you, buddy. Excuse me, please look at your, oh my goodness.
Yeah. Hello.
Hello, hi.
Hi.
I love both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I love both of
It's
us
Mel,
too.
right? Hi, Mel. Good to see you again. Yes.
Thank you, sweetie.
Yes, hello. So I have a question, one quick question for each of you. Feel free to tell me to go to hell because I don't want to put you on the spot for this.
Listen, I'm from
Go to
Detroit. I've
Mel
already been
sounds like a
there.
great title for a cartoon series.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Okay, so I saw you tweet a beautiful, or I think you retweeted a beautiful post on Twitter about Carl Sagan Day the other day.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering, he's one of my personal heroes, as is the both of you. Have you ever done a Carl Sagan impersonation? I feel
I
like
did actually. You know what? I did. Dawes Butler. Sorry, my memory
it's okay.
I couldn't think of Dawes Butler's name, but I could think of yours. Interesting. So anyway, I did Dawes Butler's last Captain Crunch commercial.
Did you really?
Yeah. And he was great. He was great. You know,
Sweet man.
Dawes used to do he used to give
Voice lessons.
voice acting, workouts in his home studio.
But for those of you who don't know,
Greg Burson.
Dawes was,
Yeah.
tell the people who
Oh,
don't.
I'm sorry. Dawes Butler was Huckleberry Hound,
Yogi
Yogi
Bear,
Bear,
Quick Draw McGraw,
Captain
Captain Crunch. Yeah.
I mean, he was part of Stan Freberg's.
Wasn't he Elroy Jetson too?
No. I think Messick
Was that Messick who was Elroy?
But
Thank you.
Dawes was part of Stan Freberg's
right.
comedy troupe. He was brilliant, and he used to do voiceover workouts. And he charged $5.
$5.
$5 to go to his garage
In Beverly Hills.
and just schwitz with him and put
That's
on
how
tape.
Nancy Cartwright and Corey Burton got started.
And Greg Burson.
Yeah.
And just great. Anyway, so Dawes did the same for me. Like I learned more in that time doing that Captain Crunch commercial, where he talked about like the chest and you got to really expand your chest out for Yogi Bear. I don't know, boo boo. And he said, but Captain Crunch is sort of here, and I used to do him as a country club, one of those country club idiots that has more money than brains, And I was like, wow, I'm here with Captain friggin' Crunch. But the other guy in the commercial was Dr. Carl Cecil, and you talked about billions and billions of crunchy stars. So it was really cool to work with him. Yeah, that's the one time I got paid to do Carl Sagan, and I had to learn it overnight, But it turned me on to Carl, so it was great. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mr.
Thank you. I
Paulsen.
love that story.
Quick question. So you've probably been asked this a thousand times. Sorry. So the nations of the world, was that sped up near the end, or did you?
No, well, wait a minute. I think the tempo speeds up. Yeah.
Tempo speeds up and then modulate. On the
Yeah, it goes up a half step. Every verse goes up a half step, and then the last verse is the tempo does pick up. And when Randy and I do it live, it's great because Randy Rogel, who wrote that, and many of the songs like.
It's a great big universe and we're all really puny. We're just tiny little specks about the size of Mickey Rooney. You might think that you're essential, try inconsequential. It's a big universe and you're not.
But thank you. But Randy, thank you. Randy wrote all that stuff, and when we do it live, he'll go, "Oh, we're running out of time." But I believe in the cartoon, the tempo does speed up a bit. But I have to say, when you don't see it for a while and then you go back to it, and I can totally see the genius of what Tom Ruegger and Steven Spielberg and those folks did, because their desire was to make their Looney Tunes, their Rocky and Bullwinkle, a show that would be utterly entertaining and relevant years later, and here we are. And it's been an unqualified success on Netflix, at least in the States. And we haven't done a new one in 20 odd years. So what I'm alluding to is that I look back at it and I see Yakko's World, which I think was in the second episode of Animaniacs. And it is a brilliant cartoon. That little 2.5 minutes or whatever that is going to be right out there with, hello, my baby, hello, my honey, It is, it just is. And it's not false modesty. I'm good at my job, but the trick is writing the song. That's the tough part. And so I'm just grateful to be part of it, because it is a seminal piece of pop culture art. It's really good. It's clever, it's witty, it's unique, and it looks great, and it's free. So it's pretty cool. Thank you for asking.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Take care. Hey, dude.
Hi, I met you both yesterday.
You did. You
Yes.
impressed us both. You are the very walking definition of precocious, which is a good thing.
Thank you
You're
very
welcome.
much. It was great meeting you both. And
Pleasure.
I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. I was just wondering, when you audition for a character in a cartoon and you have to create a voice for that character, do you draw more inspiration from looking at a sketch of a picture, or do you draw more from actually hearing about it and getting directions from
That's
the
a
description
great
of
question.
the character?
Morris?
Well, for me, the voice itself can come more from, I think, if I'm given a visual representation, a model sheet, as it were. A lot of the actual voice print or the sound can come from that. What does he look like? What size is he? I kind of crawl up inside of him like a costume, as it were. The brain, to me, was Orson Welles from the beginning, even though they did not have Orson Welles in mind when they drew him. He's based on Tom Minton, a writer at Warner Brothers Animation.
Visually.
As his Pinky is based on Eddie Fitzgerald, and they were buddies. They were a team. They were both writers, and neither of them sounds like Pinky or the Brain.
Right.
Eddie's just known for, like, when he pitches a story, he gets very excited and provides his own sound effects. So he will say things like, "Okay, so then Brain pops in, and his head just pops out like point, like that." And then, they
Those
that,
came-
that
yeah.
became part of Pinky's dialogue. Brain was, Tom speaks in a monotone. He's a particularly brilliant guy. He's got a lot of facts and figures in the back of his head. But if I'd have done the brain like this, I never would have sold show. But I looked at that furrowed brow and those jowls, and I immediately thought of Orson Welles, and he played a villain in the 1967 version of Casino Royale, and I just thought, it was the best part of that movie, actually. And I just thought,
allow me to intercede for just a moment here. That, I don't know what your religious...
Would you keep doing that?
You're welcome.
Oh, thank you so much.
I don't know what your necessarily religious leanings are one way or the other, but
I'm
if there's a
ready to throw
cause...
religion out the window.
If there's a cause for divine intervention, that's one of those where you go, oh my God, because the story that has been confirmed is that once Mo started doing that, they essentially canceled the rest of the auditions. Because Mo started
For the
doing
Brain,
that.
they
For
cast
the Brain,
me.
yeah.
Andrea Romano told me they cast me on the spot, first audition of the day, and that was it. So the answer to that part of the question, in terms of the voice print, yes. The dialogue, though, informs me what he wants, and that's the next most important thing. In fact, maybe even more important than the voice. Always in acting and in writing, the most important thing is to figure out what is your character's desire. What is he fighting for? What does he want? And that was supplied in the dialogue. He wants nothing less than world domination. So again, Welles was perfect for that. He's a frustrated genius, because we know Brain never
Megalomaniac.
succeeds. Yeah, he's a frustrated genius who never quite gets his due. That's who he was in real life. And yet he had certain megalomaniacal tendencies. Indeed, he was a control freak. And so Welles just fit perfectly into the Brain's mold, as it were. So it's a little bit of both. And today I find, I don't know about you, but I rarely get artwork when I audition for a character anymore.
Not very
often. Once in a great while. So, the dialogue definitely helps, and the through line of the character.
And the scripts were just remarkable on that particular show. I mean, they are often, but Pinky and the Brain and Animaniacs, pretty smart. But I'm not going to waste everybody's time. Pretty much the same.
That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you, buddy.
Very much. That's really
Okay, thank you, man. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Hi.
I have two questions. One's a large one and one's a small one. The small one, do you want that first?
Well, the large one is probably going to take up the most space, so yeah.
It's correlated.
Okay.
So, how did you get so much adult innuendo into the cartoon show, even with the writing staff? Like, how did it get past the censors?
You mean like fingerprints?
Okay, you want to do that question first?
Yeah.
Well, it was a question of, like Mo said earlier at the beginning, is you throw a lot of it against the wall, and we know that certain things aren't going to make it, and I recall vividly reading that particular passage between, fingerprints and all of that. And I looked at Tress and I said, there's no whatting way that we're going to get this through. There's no way. It's not going to happen. And I'll be damned. And what's interesting, there were many that did not, and they tried to push the envelope. There were also things that Mr. Spielberg would listen to and look at and say, nah, we don't want that to be misinterpreted as mean-spirited. Randy wrote a song about Newt Gingrich that was supposed to be a la Judy Garland writing a song to Dear Mr. Gable, and she ultimately saying, you made me love you, I didn't want to do it, it's a great song. But anyway, Randy wrote a song where Dot is writing to Dear Mr. Gable and essentially cutting his legs out politically. And Mr. Spielberg, who is decidedly not a conservative, from what I understand politically, said, nah, let's not do that, because it wasn't about trying to go after somebody, And I have a great deal of respect for that. We
made fun of the Clintons a lot on both Animaniacs and Pinky and the Brain. But it was always good nature. We made fun of, Bill's tendency to be a little bit, to always be in search of food.
Right, yeah, say, man, it's so hard to run because I can't keep my cigarette lit when,
Yeah, and, Hillary was just kind of, a bit controlling.
Come here, Bill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, we never made any big
Yeah.
political statements about anybody's competency or anything like that. We just,
Right, it was not meant to be-
We always parodied character,
So they did try a lot of stuff. A lot of it did get through, like, Yakko, can you conjugate?
I've never even kissed a girl.
Or the late, great Kenny Mars came and played Beethoven, and he said, I'm a penis.
You're a what? I'm a pe- Oh my God. Good night, everybody.
And it was all great. And then you got to be Kirk Douglas in the, when we were going,
We like painting naked people.
That's right. Hooked on a ceiling.
yeah, hooked on.
What have you done to my beautiful ceiling? Yeah.
Isn't that great?
I love that one. Or the reference to the somehow joining the Donner Party does not. Like that's
Hey, Brian, the Donner Party's having, the Donners are having a
Donners are-
Christmas party. Yeah.
somehow joining the Donner Party is not terribly appealing. To
Yeah.
That's a reference to an expedition that went up into the Himalayas.
No, in the Rockies in
In the
Colorado.
Rockies, and they had to
Or Northern California, I think.
resort to cannibalism to survive.
Yeah,
so,
they'd eat each other.
yeah. So
So anyway, what's your small question?
I actually.
that was the small question.
I also have one statement. My favorite one of those innuendos is the ink blot test episode.
Oh, yeah, the Rorschach test?
Yeah, girls.
Yeah.
You're the one showing me sexy pictures of ladies.
That's right.
And the short one is, whose idea was to come up with Wako Yorn? I'm having a hard time pronouncing his name, sorry.
That's okay.
I'm excited, sorry. To say after innuendo, that's all. Sorry.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Oh,
Yeah. Whose
that,
idea was
I don't know. I think it was probably Sherry Stoner or Tom Ruger maybe, because that was their, a sort of nod to Groucho Marx, kind of like raising his eyebrow going, that's the funniest thing I've ever heard, Good night, everybody. And it's worked. I mean, remember, as I said earlier, the whole edict from the beginning, from the folks who were putting up the do-re-mi, was to not condescend to the audience. They did not expect everybody to get the joke. Sometimes it was because they were too young, but that's the magic of that show. Now you watch, I don't even know how many people have come up to me in my career and have said, I am 34 years old and I'm watching Animaniacs with 34-year-old eyeballs. Now I get this joke. But they loved it as a kid because, the baloney a la Barney would get squished with a giant anvil. That's just like Bugs and Daffy and Tweety. It's not like it's a mystery. But to do it correctly and to have the money to do it correctly doesn't happen in this day and age without a Mr. Spielberg running the show. It's very expensive. But thank you for noticing all that stuff.
And one statement to you guys, what you should do is what they did with the Deadpool test footage and all that, just get your fans and just tell them, swarm this network and tell them, make the show.
Oh, what a great idea. You guys all have passports?
Yeah. Out and say, basically, if you want the show, we can remake
Great.
it. Just swarm the network.
Great. Well,
Work with Deadpool.
we have lots of extra tiki torches at our local hardware stores. We could set them up.
Why not?
Thanks, pal.
everybody.
Hi.
You guys just do lines, send them out to the internet, and just give them to the fans. You animate this for you guys.
There you go. Yeah.
Anyway, love you guys. Thank you for the memories and the voice work.
Thank you.
I have two questions for Maurice. What started the Orson Welles impressions? Because obviously Orson Welles is the brain, but obviously you also did them in all these spans of other shows and movies and things.
So what's the question about Orson?
Just what started the impressions for you?
Well, what started it? For me, it was being given a tape of a series of outtakes from a British frozen foods commercial that Orson had done all the way over
You guys know what he's
to
talking
England to record. And the directors nitpick and micromanage his every syllable, and so he kind of pushes back against it. And I heard that, and it was the first time I'd ever heard the sort of celebrities in the act of being themselves kind of a thing. And I just was fascinated by it. Fascinated by Orson Welles, the director of Citizen Kane, being reduced to going, get me a jury and show me how you can say in July and I'll go down on you. That's just idiotic, if you'll forgive me my saying, so that's just stupid. You know, and I like played it over
It's
and
so
over again
pretentious,
in my
it's
car.
perfect, yeah.
And there's so much car time in Los Angeles that I really just put it between my ears and lived there. And then it became a question of like, how do I get my voice to get that kind of a resonance? So I began to put on weight.
Now that's commitment.
And no, I just sort of stretched my voice into that, you know, because it's all about vocal tensions and just trying different things and lowering and raising and pushing back. And, you know, it just came about. You know, I just loved the music of Orson's voice and had been fascinated with it since I'd seen the 1967 Casino Royale as a little kid. But I finally grew into the voice.
But remember also, Maurice, before Pinky the Brain, was a really successful stand-up / impressionist, traveling all over the United States, all over the place, you know. And so he already has a world-class ear. And matter of fact, we had Carrie Elwes on my show the other day, which has yet to air. And Mo came out because we're all very good friends, and immediately started doing Peter Falk from Princess Bride.
As you wish.
Great.
So yeah.
Great. But I mean, he's been able to do this. So Mo, Orson is one of a zillion impressions he does.
I'm no Ross Marquand, but I'm okay. Yeah, I'm okay.
Obviously, Orson
I actually
Welles
think he's
is the famous
brilliant,
one.
by the way.
Obviously, Orson is the famous one because he connected to the brain, and obviously just took off from there. So.
Yeah.
And my last question is for Hedonism Bob, if he's here.
Hedonism Bob.
Oh yes.
Hedonism Bob, what is your favorite delicacy to put on your body? It's one of 6 things: chocolate icing, grapes, gravy, molten boron, children's tears, or poplar blood.
I say all of the above. Ooh, yes. Dombey, fetch me the children's tears.
Thanks, brother. God, I love you, Mo.
I love you too, Robert. You wanker.
Hi.
I just want to say on behalf of everyone here, the way you weave yourself into the fabric of our lives is just outstanding. Like,
thank you.
You can't shout us out either. We're friggin' stuck there.
You guys got me through a lot of tough times in my childhood just watching the show. It's amazing. He already touched on what I wanted to do. The reference of the show was amazing. Growing up as a kid, obviously, like you said, I'm 37. So watching now as a 37-year-old, I'm like, holy crap, that's amazing.
Yeah.
You know, and like as a kid, obviously you guys taught me a few things that I wasn't supposed to know yet, but that's okay. I'll thank you later. But no, it's amazing. Has there ever been any characters or anything that's come up against you where you don't know where to go? Like, has there ever been an audition where you're just like, you know, because obviously you guys have done so much. Like, is there any time where you feel 2 characters kind of meshing?
Oh, absolutely. In my case,
sometimes that works.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's your best friend, is like cross-pollinating 2 characters. You know?
Yeah, I had that experience actually on Ninja Turtles because I was Raphael when you were very young, and I've just finished up a 5-year run on the latest Turtles, and the last episode literally aired today in the U.S. of a 5-year run. But neither voice is particularly different than my own. The challenge for me when they were kind enough to hire me on the latest iteration of Turtles was to be good at my job as an actor, so that even if people said, wow, that's the guy who's Raphael, but I totally buy him as Donatello. That's my job. And this is not meant as a comparison, but that's why we love people like Jack Nicholson, who has a very clear sound when he talks. I don't care if it's the Joker or Cinderella Liberty or Five Easy Pieces. Right. It's part of what we love about him as a movie star, but you buy him as R.P. McMurphy differently than you buy him as the guy from The Postman Always Rings Twice, because he's a good actor. I should be good at my job. I've been doing it for almost 40 years, but so my voice doesn't have to change for my ability to inhabit a character. And nobody is limitless in terms of what they can create vocally. There are certain things that I just can't physically do that Maurice and D. Bradley Baker and Frank Welker do all the time. I can't do it. So I try to stretch myself and learn new things, but ultimately, if I'm doing my job, whether or not my voice has changed a lot, I should be able to address the character and as his or even her truth and experience. That's my job. But thank you for asking. That's a good question.
Thank you again.
Okay, buddy. Thanks for your kind words. Appreciate it.
If I could just interject really quick, guys. In the interest of time, I think we'll just cut the line off at the last gentleman over there.
Great. Okay, and then I'll quit rambling.
Hello, nurse. Hi.
How are you?
Fine, thank you. Nice to see you again.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Too. In addition to Ninja Turtles, actually, a question for you, Rob.
Yeah.
You mentioned you're directing, voice directing. On
Yes, I am.
Or on the next show, the Ninja Turtles.
I am. They were kind enough to offer me the job of directing the voice cast on the iteration of Turtles, which will be coming a year from now. Yeah.
How do you find the process of voice directing compared to voice acting, which you're obviously so.
Well, I'm much better at the former. I mean, the latter. Mind you, I've had the great good fortune to learn at the feet of the masters, Andrea Romano, Gordon Hunt. It's pretty difficult. Ginny McSwain. It's pretty difficult I've learned a lot. But I like it much more than I thought I would. I was very flattered that Nickelodeon offered me the gig, and I said, of course. I've learned clearly in my lifetime to never say no. Never. In terms of what I want to do for performing. Obviously, you say no to drugs. Unless it's Vicodin. Right. Unless it's Vicodin, in which case, yeah! So, so I said, sure, I'd love to try it. It was a very clear rule laid down. It was by me. I said, look, let's do this for 5 or 6 episodes and then revisit it. Because I don't want you guys to be in a position where you go, God, he's not really doing a very good job. I don't want to tell me, you know? And the same with me. But I had a ball. They seem to be getting what they want. And ultimately, it's up to the fans. It will be a 2D version, very similar to the original. 4 new turtles. Do any Vampire Diaries fans out there at all? Oh, well, that was a good question. Anyway, the girl who plays one of the characters, Kat Graham, is now April O'Neil. And the 4 boys they have playing the turtles are excellent. Excellent. So I'm very grateful. Maurice and I have already gotten to do a couple of secondary characters on the show. But it is an absolute blast. And so ultimately, the proof is in the pudding. It's a very high bar. If you like it, we'll do another season. If not, we won't. It's that simple, but I appreciate you bringing it up. Thank you, sweetie. Take care. Hey, man, it's Wolverine.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Wolverine by way of Kermit the Frog.
Yeah.
Nice.
Excellent.
So, my question is kind of related to one or two of the previous ones. How long does it take to get into a character? Like, what sort of process?
I would say you know the answer to that.
Yeah. As long as you stood in line, apparently. Well, I don't know. I mean, it's not, to me, it's not this big mysterious thing where I need to go off in a corner. In fact, a lot of our work is about improv and thinking on your feet, and they'll throw Maurice a character and say, hey, we've got this talking chicken here who's got it. We kind of would like him to do as, remind me kind of a Rodney Dangerfield. And there's, okay, boom. And
All right. Bakak, okay? All right. Yeah, nice feed, baby, okay? All right, let me have some of that.
What an attractive little pecker you are.
Yeah.
Sorry, I meant that literally. Like, God, you people are so nasty.
No, so for me, it's, what do you?
I've told you the Rodney Dangerfield bathrobe story, right?
No.
No, he has an absolute inability to keep his bathrobe shut. I mean, the man was a walking terry cloth repellent. I toured with Rodney Dangerfield for a year and a half.
Yeah.
And he would always wear his robe in his dressing room, and it would just come open the more you stood there talking, and he didn't care. So when you say, Pecker.
See,
when
that's
you
where
say
his brain goes.
Pecker.
That's where the
And Rodney, in the same sentence, I have allegations.
Yeah, I know. Oh, God.
Hashtag allegations.
Well, it doesn't really, like the brain, you just call it up now. I mean, we've done it a million times, but if there's a new character, you get some ideas and a few minutes to work on it, and then, it's not like a long.
I generally, what I do is trust myself that what's going to come out of my mouth is going to be at least funny. And whether it's what they want, that's up to them. I can't sit there trying to please everyone or figure out what the director's asking for unless they're actually saying, we want a Rodney Dangerfield impression here. If they give me any leeway at all, I just open my mouth and whatever comes, I trust that it's going to be good enough to be like one of the better auditions of the day. Whether I get the job, none of my business. My
Right.
job is just bring what I do. And in fact, what I want to do when I audition is just get a laugh out of them because I know they're having a hard day.
Yep.
This is the toughest thing in the world to cast something.
They want you to
a
be
blank
good.
slate. And they've got 7 characters that they've got to we got to give them voices. Crap, this is not easy. And they're going to hear a bunch of people that aren't right and they're going to get discouraged and frustrated. So what I'm trying to do is just at least give them a laugh.
Yeah.
And if I'm right for the job, they won't forget to call my agent. So I never worry about getting the job. What I concern myself with is just going in there and bringing a smile.
Yep.
And it seems to work. I've paid the rent doing voiceover since 1985.
Yep.
So that's it.
Also, one more thing. How is your Cary Grant?
Good heavens, what an unusual question that is. It's not bad at all, thank you. Good heavens, yes, good heavens. Chris Evans. I love Chris Evans, good heavens. Judy, he never said that.
God,
Good
that's just.
heavens.
I've known this guy 25 freaking years. and
You've never heard me do Cary Grant?
No,
Good
it doesn't-
heavens. Let's do a show where I play Cary Grant and you can play
Audrey Hepburn.
Audrey Hepburn. Yes.
Sorry, it just feels right.
I think we should do a show where Katharine Hepburn and Audrey Hepburn and Cary Grant walk into a bar. Good heavens. I don't know. Good heavens. I've played both opposite both of them.
Hello. Hi.
Hi, I'm Daniel.
Hi, Dan.
Hello, Daniel.
So I got a question for Rob.
Yes, sir.
I wanted to ask you about you being the director on the new Turtles. You don't have to tell me anything.
He's a friggin' slave
Oh, well,
driver.
now that they've released
Ask
it,
me about it.
Yeah.
He's a slave driver. God damn it.
He's a
You know
wonderful
what I say to
director.
Maurice? I
say-
love him. I didn't even know I was being directed.
I push the button when Maurice is on the other side of the glass and I say, Maurice, do you recall the talent you used to have? Thank you. Could you maybe use it on this next one? Thank you.
And then I say, well, what is it you want in
The
your
depths of
depths of your influence? What is it you want? Whatever it is you want, I can't deliver because I just don't see it.
That's absolutely fine. There we go. But so what's your question? I'm sorry.
My question is, I wanted to ask for your opinion on what makes a great incarnation of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Well, I think, like I said earlier, it's no secret. In the circumstance we have today, and by the way, I've met many lovely, talented folks from your local company here, Bardell Animation, who just kicked the living hell out of that show. It looks so great. And it is an unqualified success. And I believe that in this case, it's because the people who are making it are about between 30 and 40 years old. So they all grew up watching and being totally enmeshed in the ethos and the story of Ninja Turtles. They get it, and they are you, they are us, they're a part of the fan base. So Kevin Eastman says that this is his favorite version of the show, including the original one, because really only he and Peter knew about the sort of mythology of the Turtles, but even that kind of grew and spread over the ensuing generation. And so now Cirinelli and Brandon Allman and the people at Bardell and all the scriptwriters are all people who grew up watching Ninja Turtles. So it is, it's one of those things where the stars came together at the right time. The characters are well executed. You got pretty good actors. I mean, Sean Astin and Greg Sipes and Seth Green and Kevin Michael Richardson and Clancy Brown, Eric Bauza. Great actors and wonderful writers, but specifically people who are in charge and have the money to do it are deeply in love with the whole franchise. They really get it. Cirinelli, who was the EP on the show, executive producer, he grew up in Philly. His father is from Italy, and he grew up owning a pizza parlor. So Cyril shows us, drawings he used to make on his father's pizza box covers, perfect Ninja Turtle things he did when he was 11 years old. I mean, it was meant to be. But I think it's a really good iteration, and frankly, the bar that we have now to try to do something as interesting or entertaining or as respectful of the franchise is a high bar. So we'll see, but I'm very proud to be a part of the franchise.
All right, and is it okay if I hear an argument between Raphael and Donatello?
Shut up! No! There. Thank you.
In the interest of time.
Yes. Thank you. Hey, man.
Hey, huge fans, you guys. First of all,
You look pretty normal size, but thank you.
been slacking out my leg day, obviously. First of all, Rob, I'd just like to say thanks so much for talking tunes.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, I add my voice to that. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for talking to us.
Thank you.
Really.
What is your name, sir?
Justin.
Justin, what Justin is referring to is I'm very fortunate. I have a podcast which has turned into a video podcast now called Talkin' Tunes, TALKIN apostrophe TOONS. It is part of the Nerdist family, and it is so much fun. You get people like Maurice LaMarche, John DiMaggio, Andrea Romano, Nancy Cartwright, Nolan North, Troy Baker, all of us, Carrie Elwes, and we sit down and talk about pretty much everything, but focus primarily on cartoons and animation, the work we've done, and it is remarkably entertaining because these people are just the best at what they do in the world. So thank you very much for mentioning that. It's a gas.
Yeah, it's really great to hear behind the scenes. I
Yeah.
just wondered if both of you could relate like your favorite kind of behind the scenes.
Do you have a favorite behind the scenes story, Mo?
The day that we were recording, You Said a Mouseful.
Oh, that was great.
Which is the tongue twister episode of Pinky and the Brain.
The khaki sack.
The
Kicky sack sock plucker.
Sock pluckers, six sheet splitters' sons, sick.
Can imagine.
Peggy Babcock.
Yeah.
That episode was so tough to get through. They hired a man named John Moshida, who at that time held the world's record, the Guinness World Record for fastest talking. And
He did all the Federal Express.
He had a Federal Express commercial. It was fairly legendary. You can still see it. They still show it on anytime they make a compilation of the best commercials ever made. And he's just a guy sitting at a desk, talking super fast, having to get a package out. He's talking super fast, but I mean, everything makes sense because he could enunciate and delineate each word brilliantly, and yet he said it faster than anybody else. So he got to play the boss. He was, of course, what's the name of your character again? Pinky. Stinky. And I was the brain. And our plan was to fill the Hackensack, Kicky Sack
sock plucker factory.
Yeah, factory to fill them with helium instead of air, so that they'd be just a little lighter, so that everybody would jump a little higher all at the same time, and the Earth's gravity would be reduced. I know, it would have worked if it weren't for those damn kids. Anyway, so the second half of the episode is nothing but tongue twisters. I mean, it was from the second we walk into the factory as disguising ourselves as Japanese businessmen.
Yeah.
It's all tongue twisters, and I became so frustrated. First of all, John Moshida actually blew more lines than Pinky. You did the best. I know that you maybe tripped over 2 lines or 3.
Thank you, Brian.
Yeah, and then Moshida did the next best, and the genius here couldn't get through a single tongue twister. And finally, I got so frustrated, I left our recording booth, walked into the control room. Gordon Bresack, the writer of the episode, was doubled over with laughter and me falling apart. I just walked up and I just went,
bam, hit him
right in his shoulder, like Lucy slugging Linus.
Right.
Boom.
Yeah.
Then I turned around, walked back to my chair, sat down, and then I was able to read it because I discharged all my frustration. But so that was a toughie, but it was fun, and that's my favorite, like, sort of Pinky in the Brain story.
I have, we all have many. I think it's having Roddy McDowell as a Snowball, the evil hamster or whatever he was. That was an incredible moment for me and for all of us because Roddy McDowell was Roddy McDowell. He's a Hollywood legend, a living Hollywood movie star. And he answered every one of my questions. He was the kindest, sweetest, dearest, most professional fellow. He was suffering from cancer at the time. Early to every episode, answered all my questions about Planet of the Apes and Night Gallery and Elizabeth Taylor. It was just incredible. And then when we had Carrie Elwes and Olivia Hussey. Olivia Hussey is such a stunningly beautiful woman.
She still looks 20 years old.
She's great. And if you got, she was Juliet, and in my mind, the definitive movie about Romeo, the one directed by Franco Zeffirelli.
1968.
Yeah, and she was like 17 or 18 in the movie. And then she came into work on Pinky and the Brain, and her skin is like alabaster, and I was pretty transfixed, you know. But it is truly, when you're able to do something like this, and then you get a chance to travel all around the world and have these folks like you sit around and take the time to listen to us ramble, it is like winning the lottery. And now that when we reflect on these stories, it just reinforces how incredibly fortunate we've been. So thanks, Jace. Appreciate the question.
Thank you.
Okay, buddy.
Yeah. We're trying to move it along because I know that the blood is pooling in all of your feet. And
Yeah. We don't want you to
blood
pass
clot
out.
soon. So,
Hey,
yes.
Dad, look, it's Harry Potter. Hello, Harry.
Yes.
Hi.
I have two questions. First one's for Rob.
Yes, sir.
I know you played Yakko and Dr. Scratch and Sniff.
Yeah, I did.
So when they're like in the same scene together, is it difficult like having a conversation with yourself basically?
It's a great question. I do all that all the time anyway. Generally frowned upon in pleasant company, but without chemical inducement, what am I to do? It is, you know what, I hesitate to use the word difficult, my friend, because it's so much fun. Difficult is working on a farm. Difficult is pouring hot tar in August, you know? Difficult is laying sod. I've done it, I know. What I do is I choose to be there, and I'm so grateful to be there that it really is about fun and trying to be sort of one-up myself. Now, if I overlap myself, then I got a problem. See what I say there? I mean, think about it. If I overlap myself vocally, how the hell does that happen? But it is so much fun. And when you're working with people like Maurice and Jess and Tress,
I overlap him all the time.
yeah, he overlaps me.
Even while he's talking.
The bar gets raised higher and higher, and really are like a bunch of, respectfully, folks your age in a giant sandbox in Hollywood. It's so much fun. Yeah.
Like, I have him saying, "Hey, Scratchy, how you doing?"
I'm doing just fine, Yakko. Why are you here today?
Well, I picked up this girl last night, and not like that. I mean, I literally picked her up in my car. Oh yeah, I just got my driver's license.
Really, Yakko? How exciting for you. Let me see. You don't so much drive as aim, So I can do it, but I've been doing it a long time anyway. But you know what? I started doing and playing like that stuff when I was your age.
Yep.
Because it's fun.
It's really all just play. It's really
Yeah.
all just staying open to whatever comes to you. And I think we all start out as improv geniuses, and then that gets beaten out of us as we go on, but that's what it is.
Yeah, the great thing about being a child is that you're not limited by your childness. Everything is exciting, and I never want to lose the ability to be amazed. I love being surprised. I love being open to, oh my God, that's so cool, Yeah. Because then I want to be like you when I grow up.
And then my second question is, what was your favorite Animaniacs episode to like beating probably?
Oh gosh, the next one, because it means we got to pick up.
I would say for my favorite one, honestly, it's difficult to say because we did, 100 or whatever, 99 half hours. I really like King Yakko, the one where he says,
I'm the cousin to the sister of the son's niece's mother of the uncle, blah, 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 blah. Na, na, na. With they're all gone, and that is why I am now your king. He is now our king. Repeat what I just said. Repeat what I just said.
And it's very clever. So I like the ones my favorite ones are the music ones, because I was a singer before an actor, and I love to sing. But thank you for asking, sir.
Mine was Hooked on the Ceiling.
Yes, where you got to be...
I love to be Kirk Douglas.
Kirk Douglas.
I just love playing that note of being that irascible and frustrated curmudgeon. And, for me, that was
Well, and
nice.
we also, I remember clearly, happens a lot. Maurice starts doing his thing, and I can't get my breath. I can't. I can't proceed because I'm amazed and laughing at the same time. And it just makes the bar higher and higher, and we have a ball. Thanks for watching.
You're welcome.
Hello?
Don't worry, I've got it.
Okay.
Okay, Maurice, I'll make it two questions. I'll try to do the first one. As someone who was surprised to know that you had a voice role as Mr. Big from Zootopia, Do you think this will push for voice actors to get more than just minor roles? Because you and John DiMaggio had somewhat supporting roles in that movie.
Well, you know, a push, I wouldn't want to say that there's any reason to push. Everybody who's got a SAG card or a SAG-AFTRA card now has got a right to be in whatever, you know, Disney's producing or DreamWorks is producing. I'm not one of those who goes, get those celebrities out of those productions, damn it. I understand the thinking. It's there for the adults. The kids will go to see the cartoons, and the adults will go to hear their favorite actors as cartoon characters. I understand that. Is there any indication that it puts more butts in seats? I don't know. It may or may not. It's none of my business. I'm happy I get to be a part of anything that Rich Moore asks me to do. I'm very lucky we worked together on The Critic and on the early days of Futurama, and now that he's director over at Disney, he's just calling me in. So, you know, I'm about to go in and do some work on Wreck-It Ralph 2. I don't think I'm breaking any rules by telling you that. You know, I'm happy to. I'm just happy to have the work. I don't want to be militant and go, no, get those celebrities out of there. They do a great job.
Yeah.
I thought Jason did a great job as Nick, and Jennifer did a great job as Judy, and I think the film would have been the film without them. It's all about good acting, you know, and voice acting is good acting, but without the hair, lighting, and makeup. So I don't begrudge anybody a job. I'm just glad to get to play.
You're here.
Okay. Also, Mr. Big, is it as a Tundra-town crime boss with polar bears? Is it okay to somewhat acquire your signature?
Is it okay to acquire?
You wanna acquire my signature?
Yes.
Yeah, come down to my booth. I'll be there after this, and please come down. Yeah, sure. I need to finance something, so make an offer you can't refuse.
Thank you for your time.
You bet.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. By the way, we will, after this, we're going back down to our table. So if you want to come down and say hi in person, you don't have to buy anything. But, you know, come by and say hello and tell us you enjoy it.
Please do. It'd be nice to talk to you.
Real closing.
But look at the color of the hair. It's all pink, like my name.
Hi, Rocky. Nice to see you again. You're my favorite raccoon.
So I read on your website, there's talking about like what you need to make your competitive advantage, and you should be able to fill the voids when you are trying to be a voice actor. So what do you think sets you apart from other voice actors, or what do you look for in a voice actor that sets them apart and kind of just makes them so memorable?
I can tell you, A, because of my experience, and B, because of my podcast. I work with people who are not only the most gifted actors, in my opinion, in Hollywood, and they've proven that decade after decade after decade, but they are also the most utterly unpretentious, unaffected, kind, sweet people whom you'd ever meet, and most of them are people I have over to my house. I mean, they're people that are my personal friends. And so over and over and over, what continues to shine and what continues to be obvious is that I said a bit earlier, they're utterly unafraid of looking like an idiot or being weird or whatever. That's the whole idea. The idea is not to be encumbered by my Robness, to get too existential. If that were the case, then I would be too afraid to act silly, and I wouldn't get jobs like Carl Wieser, who's completely out to lunch, you know. And so the same thing happens with Mo, Tress, John DiMaggio, Billy West, Jess Harnell, Frank Welker, people who have passed away, Don Messick, Kenny Marr, it doesn't matter. That's what I think makes a good actor, but with respect to voice actors specifically, is that, and also Mo alluded to earlier, I'm not a good impressionist. However, when a producer says, you do Don Knotts, right? I say, well, I do a bad impression of Jeff Bennett's perfect impression of Don Knotts. But if I'm afraid to try it because it's not as good as I think it should be, like Mo said, it's not about me. It's about the producer asking me to play. So I have two choices. Do I jump in the pool and play? Or do I say, I'm not very good? And if I were the producer, I'd say, okay, great. Well, I get somebody who wants to try it, you know? So I try it. It's good enough, but the stuff I add to it, in addition to the bad impression of Don Knotts, turns out to be another character that gets me 12 episodes on another show. So it really is about being fearless not to the extent that our incredible soldiers and first responders out, they're real heroes. But in terms of your work, in this case, it's just saying, sure, we'll try anything. And if you don't get the job, doesn't matter, because they'll remember that you were willing to play. And ultimately, I'm 61 years old. I have the same Jones to do this gig that I did when I was the age of Harry Potter, who was here. Honestly. And this stuff is just gas on the fire and icing on the cake. I love it. So, you don't have anything to say, right, Mo?
What?
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Good luck to you, Rocky. Thank you, sweetie. Yep. Hi.
Hey, thanks for talking with me on Friday, Rob.
Oh, you're welcome.
So much fun to...
You've sobered up.
Yeah.
Sorry, kidding, joke. Yeah. Maybe you haven't, which is good.
Yeah. And I thank you both so much for, bringing me up to help me, get my career as like a compositor for Rick and Morty.
Well, good for you, pal. Congratulations.
So,
well done.
Yeah.
I love
You're doing something you would essentially do for free, right? Almost. No, it's great, honestly. It's to be able to do something about which you're passionate is like winning the frickin' lottery. And not everybody gets to do it, and I get that, so good for you.
Yeah, and another thing is, what advice can you give people like me or anyone if they want to try voice acting for the first time?
Become a good actor.
Yeah.
Because it's more, as we say this like it's a broken record, it's more about the acting than it is about the voice. Right now my voice is shot. But, I would say it's nice that I can do a bunch of different impressions, but learning to become, learning to grow my acting chops is what's, I think, helped me get as much work as I've been lucky to get. It's not about voice acting, it's about voice acting, so, right?
Yeah.
So study improv, study scene
improv
study,
is huge.
Scene study, do sketch comedy study. We've got some very good sketch troupes up here in Vancouver. Do that type of stuff so that you free yourself up to play.
Yeah.
It's all just play. It's all just being willing to have fun and to be open and say yes and instead of yeah but.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it.
Yeah, and improv is solid because even if you don't end up, and again, we have to qualify, not everybody's going to want to make a living as an actor. Now, there's a lot of work here in Vancouver. It's highly competitive, and so what? I mean, that's the way it goes. You're going to get some, you're going to not get some. You may make a living, you may not. Probably not. Not because it's personal, but because the odds are relatively astronomical. However, that doesn't mean you stop doing it. It means that you shift your priorities and say, well, I got to do this to make a living, but my passion and my avocation is performing or acting, whether it's singing in church or doing improv or whatever. Like Mo said, improv is great for anybody. You never know when the person whom you're working for says, hey man, I'd love to have you go and speak in front of a crowd about what we do and we're expanding the business and it needs to be extemporaneous and we would love for you to be able to take some questions and, oh, by the way, if you could make it funny, that would be great. So whether you end up making a living as an actor, having that facility and being able to be calm, it just gives you a sense of confidence because you can think on your feet. And it's a great, improv is a blast. Working in theater is a blast. The tide may be turning a bit because there are many people who want just to do voice acting because of the nature of video games and all that. But I can tell you all the people with whom we all work have live performance backgrounds way before we got into voice work.
Right.
And you can do it anyway. There's theater, local improv. Just get together with friends and mess around. That's another good idea. Yeah.
We got 6 minutes left.
Yeah,
so
sorry.
Let's power through.
Thank
these
you for
last
asking.
questions.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hi.
Hello. Nice to meet you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
People tell you look like Harold Ramis.
Yeah.
You guys have had such an incredible career over these 30 years. You've made so many good cartoons you have made, but been part of so many good cartoons, but you've also been part of some bad cartoons.
Yeah.
We in Canada, we have a career of making bad cartoons.
Bless your heart.
What would you say is the ultimate, what makes a cartoon good or bad at the end of the day?
For me, the writing.
Mm-hmm.
I've been very lucky to be on some terrific stuff like The Critic, Futurama, Pinky and the Brain, Animaniacs. And the thing that sets those shows apart is the writing. It's like these are people that should be writing feature films.
Yeah.
It's just intelligent. It goes a little bit deeper. All of these shows have different animated styles, but they've all got something in common in that they're very, very clever and they pay attention to character. The most important thing, Pinky and the Brain isn't about taking over the world. It's about the two characters and their love for each other, the relationship that they have. It's a love-hate. It's a love-tolerate relationship. And stories, good stories. Those are the things that set it apart. The line drawings are whatever the style of the artist is.
Yeah, well, that was a script you got
The Simpsons is a brilliantly written show. And it's got its own unique style, but it's not like the deepest, most textured animation in the world. So I think it's really about the script.
All right, thank you for your time.
You bet.
Thank you, buddy.
Hello. Nice to see you again.
Monty, right?
What?
Are you Monty? What was your last? What's your first name?
Joelle.
Joelle. I was thinking of Monty.
Anyways, you look like Monty today. Nice to see you.
Hi, nice to see you too. My question is, you talk about how you were both very inspired by Mel Blanc. Were you as inspired as his actual stage acting with like television, movies, and all that, where he's in front of
Radio,
the camera?
especially. I was. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was astounded to learn. Of course, I was introduced to him first as a cartoon actor, and then when I began to see him show up on the Jack Benny show,
Yes.
it was a station
Johnny
in
Carson.
Toronto that aired the old Jack Bennies, and I was like, the guy doing C, so,
Yeah.
sigh. I was like, wow, that sounds
Or
like
the car starting.
Yeah, it sounds just like Speedy Gonzales, and then I found out, no, that is Speedy Gonzales.
Yeah.
And then I went, of course he's a brilliant, his timing is great. Look who he's working with.
Right.
He's working with Jack Benny, who's known to have the most legendary timing in all of comedy. So if you're, one of his cohorts or compadres, you've got to be playing at the same level as him. That's what made Mel so fantastic. His comic timing was unbelievable.
To me, his what I recognize his name with is the Christmas episode where Jack Benny is shopping and
Yes.
customer service.
I love that. I just heard it on the radio because it's Sirius XM, by the way. If you guys listen to Sirius Satellite Radio, they have a thing called Radio Classics.
Right.
And often Jack Benny and Mel Blanc show up on that. It's phenomenal.
Yep.
And I didn't grow up in the days of radio, but my parents, long before Sirius XM, would find cassettes of, check this out, man, because I know you dig what you do and you're going to love this. And it was Bugs Bunny and from the 30s. Oh my God, fantastic. Good for you, honey.
Yeah.
Good for you. Those
You're
resources.
paying attention to that stuff.
So like, I'm not even 21 yet, and I grew up watching Jack Benny. So
Yeah,
like,
but see, that's so great. It's all available now for anybody to see. Stuff that is so inspiring, and it's 70, 60, 70 years old.
Yeah.
Good for you. You have excellent taste.
Yeah, you've got you.
Thank my dad.
Ow.
for that.
I do. Dad, we thank you, Dad.
Way to go, Dad.
Yes, wherever you are in the universe, you've got a good dad, and you've got a good teacher in
Yes.
Jack Benny and all those classic guys. They're the people to pay attention to.
Now, I don't know what genetically happened with respect to the color of your hair, but good for you. Wave that freak flag, baby.
Good luck, sweetie. Thank you.
Hello, nurse.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you so much for chatting with us. This has been absolutely wonderful.
Oh, this is an honor. Thank you.
Well, I have a very quick question for each of you.
Mhm.
For Mr. LaMarche, when you were doing the voice of the God Pigeon,
Oh,
were you saying words?
First of all, I was not the voice of the God Pigeon.
You said at the beginning.
was that Chick?
No. Did I?
Yes.
I think you did. Yeah. We're just rambling.
You said Squid and the God Pigeon in addition to the brain.
You did Bobby, right? And the guy.
I did Squid, and no, I just did Squid.
Oh.
Did I say the
You
God
said
Pigeon?
the God Pigeon.
Was that? I thought it was you
I'm a
going.
lying sack of poop. If I said that, I'm really sorry.
Well, then never mind. I don't have a question for you.
I know, that was Chick Venera.
Is that Chick?
I was there for the sessions, I can tell you, Chick Venera played the God Pigeon. And I played Mr. Big in Zootopia. Maybe you're conflating
I never
them?
saw Zootopia.
Okay, because I was doing a Godfather impression for that. Chick Venera, who played Bobby Squid and Pesto. Thank you. He did the God Pigeon. Yeah, I can tell you he didn't say a friggin' word. Everything was, wait a moment.
I've been wondering about that my entire
Yeah,
life.
no, it was just gibberish. Just Italian Brooklyn gibberish. Which is where Chickie's from, yeah.
And so
Rob,
Yeah.
my question for you, I was wondering if you could get like the inside scoop from the horse's mouth about why exactly it is that Yakko and Milton Berle didn't get along.
Why is it that Yakko and Milton Berle didn't get along?
Yakko and Milton Berle didn't get along. It was just something I did.
What's the dirt?
Well, honey, it's one of those. There are a lot of legends about Milton Berle, and one of which has to do with stuff that I really shouldn't talk about in pleasant company because I realize we're being recorded all over the place. Let's just say that Milton wasn't as big as he thought he was. Okay, let's put it that way.
No, I'm just kidding. I was a huge fan of Milton. In fact, thank you, Morris. In fact, my sweet mother, I love my mother. I miss her every day. I miss my dad about once every 2 weeks, and he would get that. I took my mother to lunch at Beverly Boulevard.
Friars Club?
Beverly Drive in Hollywood. Nate Nels.
Okay.
For lunch, beautiful deli in Beverly Hills, and Milton Berle was sitting there. And my mother said, "Oh my God, from Michigan. Oh my God, Rob, is that Milton Berle?" I said, "Yes, it is, Mom." So we sat kind of close, and I said, "You want to meet him?" And she said, "I don't want to bother him." I said, "Well, the worst he can say is no," and then he turns out to be a jerk, and now you have a story. It was delightful. Delightful. I said, "Mr. Berle?" "Yes." This is my mother, Lee Paulsen. We're both big fans. And she said, "Nice to meet you, Lee." Stood up with both hands. Just delightful. And my mother went back to Grand Blanc, Michigan, floating on air because Uncle Milty had given her, 2 minutes of his time. So
Yakko might have a problem with him, but
Rob doesn't. Thank you, sweetie. Hey, handsome.
Hello. I'm just wondering, what was Brain's favorite plan to take over the world?
Yes. My favorite plan to take over the world was the Christmas plan. Yes.
Makes me
It's a
cry
noodle
every
noggin
time I
doll
watch it.
in each person's home. Because at the end of the story, not only did he find out that he had a dear friend in Pinky, but it's the only time that the plan actually worked.
Yeah.
And the brain took over the world for exactly 20 seconds. And what did he do? Because he found the Christmas spirit, he told everyone to have a Merry Christmas, a very Merry Christmas, and then destroyed the machine.
Yeah.
So that's my favorite plan.
Great question,
It
sir.
worked.
Thanks, Mike. Thank you, buddy. Great to see you guys again. Take care.
Well, we're out of time, and
He's got a gun! No, I'm sorry. I know, we're all assholes. I'm jerks.
Except for Milton Berle.
Yeah, except for Milton Berle.
So you guys have talked a little bit about auditions and stuff. So I just wanted to know: is there any famous character or show that you auditioned for that you did not get the role for, and what was those roles?
Yes, I was down to the last 2 or 3 of Philip J. Fry, and I didn't get it, and it's just fine because they picked absolutely the right guy. Billy is freaking magical. And he, again, is just the nicest, sweetest, unassumingest guy and kills it as Philip J. Fry. He's an icon, Billy. He's the real deal. So that's probably the biggest one that I didn't get that I would like to.
Oh, I didn't know that. You came so close. I would love to have had you on the show. Well, for me, I got I got kind of close to playing Joker on one of the iterations, the 2003 one, The Batman, and I really poured all my psychosis into that one. If I were a serial killer, serial killing clown, what would I be like? And I tried to just push all morality out of my brain and just become as Lecterish as I could, and I thought I'd laid down something really original and kind of creepy and scary. But it ultimately went to Kevin Michael Richardson. He was the right guy for the job. But I would have liked to have taken a crack at it, the Joker.
Any chance we could hear that right now?
I can't remember what I did. And I really went into a dark place. I mean, I didn't just go in there and do a voice. I walked into the booth and I was like, go to the place where you could actually kill somebody.
And if you've driven in LA, you know exactly what that's about.
what I did for the Calendar Man on the Arkham games
Oh, yeah.
is kind of there, but with more of a sense of humor. But it was that kind of empty, soulless, dark place. Because they said they didn't want a Mark Hamill kind of Joker. They wanted a different kind of Joker. But ultimately, they kind of tacked back towards the middle, and maybe what I did was too dark. Yeah, but that's the only one. All the rest, I just, I'm always in acceptance that hopefully I gave him a good audition, and that's all. But that was one I really wanted.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Any other questions? No, I'm kidding.
First of all,
That's the first time we've ever gotten through the line. I'm
I
very,
know,
very
isn't that
happy
something?
about
That's
that.
great. Thank you
Nobody's
very much
going home
for your
disappointed except everybody here.
your patience is so appreciated.
Yeah.
We are so grateful to have been here with you. Oh, Canada, do we love you?
Yes.
And Mo is
This is my home country.
Yeah,
you
Mo
know.
is from
from Willowdale.
born in Timmins.
Willowdale, Ontario.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's right.
So, but yeah, that's the first time. That's the first time you're going to hear Vancouverites clapping for Toronto.
We are profoundly grateful and understand what an incredible privilege this is to be with you guys. So
Thank you for giving us an hour and a half of your time.
Yeah, and
So-
I am contractually bound to finish with the following. So, wow.
Wait a second. So you're saying, in other words, that you're just very grateful to have.
Yeah, you're
performed
done, pal.
In the United States.
Yes,
and
but the
Canada?
fact is that I was born in the United States, but I have friends in Canada and Mexico, Panama, Haiti, Jamaica, Peru,
Republic Dominican, Cuba, Caribbean, Greenland, El Salvador too, Puerto Rico, Colombia, Venezuela, Honduras, Guyana, and still Guatemala, Bolivia, then Argentina, and Ecuador, Chile, Brazil, Costa Rica, Belize, Nicaragua, Bermuda, Bahamas, Tobago, San Juan, Paraguay, Uruguay, Suriname, Mountains, Guyana, Barbados, and Guam, Norway, and Sweden, and Iceland, and Finland, and Germany now in peace, Switzerland, Austria, Czechoslovakia, Italy, Turkey, and Greece, Poland, Romania, Scotland, Albania, Ireland, Russia, Oman, Bulgaria, Saudi Arabia, Hungary, Cyprus, Iraq, and Iran, Syria, Lebanon, Israel, Jordan, both Yemen, Kuwait, and Bahrain, the Netherlands, Luxembourg, Belgium, and Portugal, France, England, Denmark, and Spain, India, Pakistan, Burma, Afghanistan, Thailand, Nepal, and Bhutan, Cambodia, Malaysia, then Bangladesh, Asia, and China, Korea, Japan, Mongolia, Laos, and Tibet, Indonesia, the Philippine Islands, Taiwan, Sri Lanka, New Guinea, Sumatra, New Zealand, then Borneo, and Vietnam.
Everyone.
Indonesia, Morocco, Uganda, Zimbabwe, Djibouti, Botswana, Mozambique, Zambia, Swaziland, Gambia, Guinea, Algeria, Ghana. But wait, there's more. Burundi, Lesotho, and Malawi, Togo, Spanish Santa is gone. Nigeria, China, Liberia, Egypt, Benin, Gabon, Tanzania, Somalia, Kenya, Mali, Sierra Leone, Algeria, Dahomey, Namibia, Senegal, Libya, Cameroon, Congo, Zaire, Ethiopia, Guinea-Bissau, Madagascar, Rwanda, Myanmar, Cayman, Hong Kong, Abu Dhabi, Qatar, Yugoslavia, Greece, Mauritania, then Pennsylvania, Monaco, Liechtenstein, Malta, Palestine, Fiji, Australia, Sudan.
Thank you very much, you guys. Much appreciated. Thank you.